Doctor speak with a fire strong, healing us lifting where we belong. From the nick of the message clear, hope and strength the world can hear.
Voices rise, the island proud. Push past them, we chant it loud. Unity, love, that's the plan. Caribbean soul for every land. Push past them, we shine again. Dr. leading hearts ascend. From the Caribbean here to go. Push past them, strength for all. Push past them, we shine again. Dr. leading hearts ascend. From the Caribbean here to go. Push past them, strength for all.
Mental health and true she bring. Voices so when the people sing. Breaking silence, breaking chains. Push past them, runs through our veins.
Every shore the fire grow. Caribbean like the whole world know. Dr. Simone, your star will glow. Push past them, we're on the show.
Lift your voice and let it spread. Push past them, the world is fed. From the Caribbean shore so wide. Doctor leading, we march with pride.
Push past them, we shine again. Dr. leading hearts ascend. From the Caribbean here to call. Push past them, the strength for all. Push past them, we shine again. Dr. leading hearts ascend. From the Caribbean here to call. Push past them, the strength for all.
Holy Ghost.
Facebook, YouTube, and the rest of the world, welcome, welcome, welcome to the program. Dr. Simone Matthew here. It is wonderful to be in your company live here on Facebook and YouTube, and I will have a repeat of this program on my Untapped Potential program on TDN Radio as well. So it is great to be here with you. Today we are joined by the group I like to call Save Deux Branches Advocates, who were unfortunately banned from the planning division. So we can already start that conversation just from that point, because we have lots of questions such as, is it even legal to ban people from departments in Dominica? So we're very happy to be joined by Mr. Garry Auguiste, Mr. LaRonde, Margaux LaRocque, and we will also be joined in a little bit by Dr. Eipigh Pascal. So we're going to talk about all the updates from what is going on at Deux Branches. We saw the recent release of the ESIA, the Environmental and Social Impact Assessment Studies. And so we have lots of questions, beginning with, would that assessment have been released if not for the pressure that these folks have been putting on our government? So guys, come on in, share the live, let everyone know that we are here for another Power Packs program. As you come in, don't forget to let us know where you're joining us from, and don't forget that you can go ahead and ask your questions, because I'm sure you've realized that with the exception of my Roots Connections program, I'm no longer doing Facebook Lives. But you know, when someone like Margaux LaRocque calls on you and says, hey, Doc, can we do a program on your platform? The answer is automatically yes. So here we are. We're going to jump into the topics. We have our full lineup of our panel here. We know that you too have questions, so we're here to answer your questions and to kind of just bring you up to speed in terms of what is going on. So we're going to jump right into the conversation. I'm going to go over to Margaux. She will let us know just a very brief overview, because this is their first time on the Push Past 10 platform. So she's just going to give a very brief overview of what we are talking about, and then we're going to jump right into the meat of the matter. So Margaux, over to you.
Simone, Doc, thank you so much for having us on tonight. I know your schedule is so tight, And thank you for fitting us in. And the reason I asked is because this is such a hot topic. It's just all over the place. I mean, it's in France, it's everywhere. The Chinese ambassador is going crazy right now. The poor guy. I mean, but it's his job. You are representing your country. You have this company CR5, that's the Chinese railroad number 5, who is working on the airport, but they're also quarrying at Deux Branches. Now, the problem here is this is being done back to front. If you're starting a project like that, you should have your EIA, your ESIA prepared. That is your environmental and social impact assessment, and your environmental impact assessment prepared. Now, we've been asking for this since last year. Garry Auguiste, Janelle, Wave, everyone's been asking, and it has not been available. A stop order was placed by the planning division, which today I heard Annie Edwards, who worked for planning, say that it's not only one person that signs that order, it's 4 people. So how did this thing get signed by 4 people? It got the stamp of approval by the court, and now it's just thrown aside. It's like, oh, well, continue working. So this is our issue right now. It's like there is a stop order, so stop it. All right. So what we're doing right now is trying to fight for the denial of access. Garry Auguiste and Jerry Brisbane went in there, Janelle as well, Annie Edwards, they went in to read this assessment because that's what they were told. Come in, you can read it, but don't scan, do not print, do not copy, do not share. But my people, we have to take steps to do what we have to do. And that's what was done. It was shared. So now they are banned from going into planning. That is Garry. I know, Garry, I'm so sorry, they're treating you like this. You're fighting so hard for your community. He lives in Concord, and he's directly affected by this mining because it has completely sullied the river. All the runoff from all this quarrying has caused damage to their rivers. They cannot drink the water, cannot bathe in it, cannot wash their clothes, which is what, a lot of times they don't have water. Dom Dowasco, cuts their water for weeks at a time. And so they rely on the rivers. So, what does it say? You're just completely disregarding our indigenous people. And it happens over and over, and this has to stop. All right. So we have talking points tonight, the reasons to reject this SIA, because it's pretty much illegal. And there's so many holes in it. Alex can run you through that. So can Garry. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Simone, so you can direct your panel. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Margaux, for that. And let me come over to you, Garry, because it seems like you just exploded on the screen, and that video, the very first video you did, just went viral overnight, and before we knew it, everybody was speaking about Garry Auguiste. So just tell us where that passion came from and why you decided to speak up, because unfortunately in Dominica, we seem to have a culture of silence where so many people, especially our young people, are afraid to speak up because they fear victimization. They fear folks saying, well, it's because you don't like the PM or you don't like this person or that person. Tell us why you decided to speak up on this particular matter. And then, Alex, I'm going to come to you next.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Simone. Well, I'd like to say good night to everybody. Not with everybody here. My name is Garry Auguiste. I'm an ecologist. I studied in the University of Cable campus in Barbados. And so I worked in conservation. And so I actually hiked pretty much a lot of the mountains in Dominica. There are a few I haven't climbed up yet. So I'm always in the forest in what I do. And so the forest is very dear to me, as well as the river. Like I grew up in Concord, and the river was our backyard. That was our playground. I've been able to swim since I was 4 years old. So like, that's what I grew up in. And then to see it be treated that way, and being an ecologist and being in the field of science, I'm like, this is not good for the river. And no one is saying anything, nobody's questioning anything. Well, as far as I knew at that point, we knew nothing what was going on, because I began noticing it in, I would say, late August into September. And we thought it was just a farmer building a road into his property. And it turns out it was something much bigger than that, and they were not telling the people anything. And so I thought I could do a little investigation, and so I remember speaking to Janelle about it, and we're like, just at the aspect of, hey, this is deforestation, the animals are going to get harmed. Hey, this is river pollution, the marine life is going to get harmed, the people downstream are going to get harmed. Why is no one speaking about this? And so that's when we started doing our own bit of investigation in, like, say, September, October time. And we looked into it and saw things were going wrong. And I have a bit of background in editing, like video editing. It's a bit of a hobby of mine. I used to edit a lot in college and make comedy skits with my friends. And then I took a break from it because I went to university. And then I started again because of COVID. And I started getting a bit of a community on like TikTok and stuff like that, just posting just funny skits. And so to edit the video was no problem for me. It's completely fine. It's more the content that I had to get my hands on. And so I remember going Roseau one day, and there was a gentleman sitting next to me, and he's like, see what them guys doing? They're digging for copper. And I was like, copper? What are you talking about, Nabas? See, yes, there's copper in the mountains. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you don't know they were trying to get copper in the 90s? I was like, I was born in 97. Like, I have no recollection of anything in the 90s. And so he was explaining that to me. And then I was like, there has to be some resource, some content there that will reveal, like, is there copper there? And so that also went into our investigation. And that's when we found that paper that talks about copper mining in Dominica in the late 90s and how it was stopped, and as well as the economic impact and the environmental impact it would have had in Dewash and the whole east of Dominica. And I thought that was so, like, it was blowing my mind that people in my community, in my age group, had no idea this could have happened, right? So I just put the videos together, made sure that I made the skit as to get a wider audience as I could, because yes, there's some technical stuff in it that I understand, but I know, like, I want the average high schooler to understand and to talk to their friends about it. That's the type of demographic I want to hit, from high school to the senior people. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I did, and then that video blew up, and I made a decision to not talk about what was going on in Dewash at the now, and to focus on the history at first, because I wanted to see what the comments were saying and what people are saying that's happening today. And a lot of the comments was like, why am I not addressing what's happening now? And I'm like, well, I don't know what's happening now. Mm-hmm. I know they could have been mining copper here in the 90s, but they aren't. But they are digging in the mountain right now. Are they digging for copper? Are they digging for stones? Like, we don't know. We didn't have the answers at that time. Mm-hmm. And I felt like media presence, we in the age of social media, we can use that tool. And I feel like my generation, we're pretty quick on it. Mm-hmm. And just understanding the algorithm and when to post, how long you should post it, thumbnails and all these stuff there, all this I had already accumulated over the years, just doing it as a hobby. Mm-hmm. So it came by quite easily to just put it together, to post it, and then it blew up.
Yeah, well, that was a brilliant decision, Garry, because again, we have to reach the younger generation to get them involved in the conversation. So let me come over to you, Alex, for you to just introduce yourself and say what your role in all of this is. And then the one question I'm going to ask, and then I'm pretty much going to hand the program over to Margaux, because she's quite competent with the questions she will be asking. The one question I'm going to ask is, why is the ESIA important? And we see Dr. Eipigh has just joined us, so we will include him in the conversation as well. So Alex, just introduce yourself, tell us us your role in, and by the way, as you're doing so, your sister just jumped on the live. Amy, nice to see you. So just tell us your role in all of this, Alex, and then we will talk about why the ESIA is so important. And then Margaux, I will come over to you for your questions. Alex? Oh, you're muted. We can't hear you. Oh no, we were hearing you before. Yes, try again. We can't hear you. We were hearing you before. Try again. Oh, we can't hear you. You want to log out and log back in? No, we can't hear you. So maybe log out and log back in, Alex, so we can get you back. But yes, let's continue while we're waiting on Alex, because I think the other folks are pretty familiar. But so why is the ESIA important? And Dr. Eipigh, I know you've been on the ground at Deux Branches with our legend himself, Nasio Fountain. So before we even touch on that, tell us what is going on at the site right now, Dr. Eipigh. Unmute.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, greetings and good night to everyone, and nice to be here. Thank you, Simone and Margaux, for inviting me to be part of this panel. Hello to Garry and Alex. As of today, well, I must say things were pretty quiet at Deux Branches today. We were up earlier for a couple hours, and there were just a few of the workers around, and practically quiet. Nothing was really happening. Occasionally you would hear, I mean, we used to have a better view, and we noticed today that there was 3 containers up that sort of blocked the view we normally had. So we couldn't really see anything. Occasionally you'd hear a clanging sound as if somebody was doing something. But compared to the last week and the weeks before, things were pretty quiet today.
And then we saw a video, because I think the stop order is still in place. We saw a video where Nasio Fountain was trying to kind of prevent one of the equipment from proceeding. So can you tell us about what happened in that particular situation?
Oh, no, basically, well, eventually the Nasio's and David's attempt was to prevent the a big truck that was carrying a big crane into the site. And basically, he was trying to point out to them that there's a stop order in place, and there should be no activities, nothing, especially a heavy machinery going in. The assumption is that they're going into work. And basically, he was trying to point out to them that, there's a stop order, nothing's supposed to be happening to there, and eventually left to a bit of a standoff. And then the police were called, and they came, and eventually, I don't want to, I mean, what's the right word? Move Nasio out of the way so the vehicle.
Yeah, we saw that.
Without any major confrontation. So that's basically what happened.
So the stop order is still currently in place as of today?
As far as I'm aware.
That's interesting. So let's open up the floor to everyone and just talk about why the ESIA is important. So Garry, let's start with you, and then Margaux, we will come to you for the questions.
Okay, so the ESIA is the Environmental Social Impact Assessment, and it's important to have a baseline understanding of the environment and the social impact that is going to happen on a project. You basically researching the biodiversity, you're studying the soil, you're studying the water, and you're looking at what the impact that this project could cause to the environment, because that is a major concern to people who use the environment, people who depend on it. And so that's one of the major things that the ESIA is important for, but also too, it's important in this case, and I guess in all cases, that the ESIA is, you're obligated to complete one for any project, especially one for this magnitude. And it's even in the Physical Planning Act that you need an ESIA checklist of if you are to build a quarry/mine in Dominica. And I believe it's very important, especially for this case, that you're building a project so massive and so close to proximity to the river, as well as the Northern Forest Reserve, which is protected land. And you're also above a community. So that's 3 things already, just to say why this EISA is important for this project. And so far, those who have read it, who have started reading it, can see that so far it doesn't seem to fit the checklist that we're looking at.
And that is going to be the main focus of our conversation today. But let's see if Alex, if we can hear you again. Try again.
How about now?
Hey, perfect. We can hear you.
Great.
So kindly just introduce yourself and tell us your role in all of this.
Yeah, so I am essentially a self-proclaimed, I guess, conservationist. I don't have any degrees or anything to back that up, but, actually we should all be conservationists in one kind or another. Those of us who truly, love and value Dominica for the place that it is, for the very special place that it is. I am involved in several groups that focus on conservation and protection of the environment and ecosystems, the various ecosystems in Dominica. And I too grew up in this area in particular. Most of my family hails from that area, specifically Atkinson. I have family in the Concord area, actually right across the river from, my aunt lives right across the river from Garry. And, we all grew up in Basse Margaux, sort of the famous, probably the famous swimming pool in Dominica. And so, that's been gravely affected by what has already occurred, actually, and let me just stress that what has happened is just the tip of the iceberg. It's nothing compared to what is planned. So I came into this saga actually last July when I was in Dominica, and drove past and saw the excavation that was taking place, and sort of like Garry, I was struck by the situation at hand. And I knew that it was, well, at that point, the Chinese contract CR5 was already in there because they had posted signs. And so, I stopped and looked at it, and I knew that this situation was going to be quite significant for the future of Dominica and Dominicans, because I knew that this was before my knowledge of Save Deux Branches had not even happened yet. But I did know that there were Dominicans who were willing to do whatever it took to protect this very sensitive area. And so, here comes Garry, his team, Wild Dominique, Wave, Margaux, our team, and everyone. We have coalesced to try to basically build a coalition to deal with this. And it's been amazing, and I just want to. I thank Garry especially because he's brought so much attention to this issue that actually is not just about Deux Branches. I think if you're a Dominican who cares about Dominica and you think that this issue is only about Deux Branches, you need to seriously think about this, get informed and reassess your conclusions on that, because this situation actually is bringing to light a lot of the very negative, insidious, sort of pervasive issues that we have in Dominica, from top to bottom. And it shows itself right here in the ESIAs that which are sort of topic of discussion tonight. This is how things tend to be done in Dominica without the necessary transparency, without the necessary information, without the data, without the proper work that needs to go into a very, very important document like an ESIA. And this is why we end up getting ourselves into trouble with certain projects in Dominica. And I'll just say that, this project, this international airport, which we will stress again that no one on this panel tonight is against, and no one who's fighting for Deux Branches is against. It is a very important and very critical and massive investment that falls on the backs of Dominicans. And I will tell you, my fellow Dominicans, that without proper ESIAs, without proper approvals from the planning authorities, statutory authorities in Dominica, we could find ourselves in a situation where the international bodies that accredit and certify international airports may be reluctant to do so in the case of Dominica, because the government, the contractors, the developers did not follow national laws and did not follow international laws. And that is very important. And this is a key point as to why this ESIA and following the international norms that guide ESIAs is very important.
Very well said, Alex. And let us just be abundantly clear, as Alex alluded to, this is not a conversation, because people are so quick to say, from the time you start asking questions, you start raising concerns, the argument becomes you're anti-development, right? So I'm happy that you made that point, that this is not about being anti-development. This is about being transparent and following protocols and holding our government accountable for doing so. So with that, I'm going to hand the mic over to Margaux. You have some great questions, and I'll let you decide who you want to answer them. So I'm here.
All right. Alex, you were just keeping this thing in Dominica, but this goes so much further throughout the region. The good doctor and myself are a part of the Stronger Caribbean team, Together team. So, I mean, it's just everywhere. Anyone who lets the colonizers, as we call them, come in, they fall prey to this kind of things. Just free willy-nilly, like the EIA, for instance, right? This company, they did their own report. The ones doing the blasting did their own report. I mean, they did their own EIA. You're doing the damage, and you're doing it. It makes no sense. Alex, you ran that report, the EIA that Garry and Jerry hijacked. That's what they did. They hijacked it. You ran it through an AI assessment. Can you tell me how many discrepancies you found?
Yeah, well, first of all, I would not even say that what they did was a hijacking. I mean, they performed a public service. I mean, they did what they're supposed to do. These are public documents. They still are public documents, and actually,
public.
That's right. And the way in which they're being held, sort of hostage, right now is actually illegal. I just want to be clear that is completely illegal.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
I mean, it goes back to Benoit telling us no video recording at his meetings. Remember, this guy said he's going to blow the mountain to smithereens, but don't record that. Wow.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, this is exactly, and this is just sort of a culture of opaque dealings, as far as government and the public, and it's really. It is very, very, very dangerous. Okay, this is why I've said that this is a situation and an instance that really gets to the core of Dominica and what sort of country do we want to be? I mean, are we a country of laws, or aren't we a country of laws? Which is it? You can't pick and choose selectively based upon when it's convenient for you.
Right.
The government must follow the law, must follow the Constitution, and just like the average Dominican, myself, I mean,
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law. If
Mhm.
exactly, if I took it upon myself to go, I mean, I have family land right there in Chapara, right down the road from Deux Branches. If I was to go there and roll in with some excavators and say, okay, well, I'm going to develop a quarry or a mine or whatever you want to call it myself, I'd have the planning division on my back in 5 minutes,
Mhm.
and
Exactly.
they would shut me down. And you know what? If I went back in there without their approval, you know what would happen? I would get a $40,000 fine.
Mhm.
There you go, because
Absolutely.
there are laws,
Yeah,
Alex,
and then
right?
to hear
Exactly.
the CEO of the project talk about that planning is the government and the government is planning, so they did not have to seek permission. And the thing
Right.
about it is, unfortunately, in Dominica, people tend to believe people based on their status. It is sad and unfortunate, but it is true. So when you have someone like Mr. Samuel Johnson on a public radio station talking about the government is planning and planning is the government, pretty much indicating that they do not need permission, and we know, in fact, that that is not the law. So so it begs the questions of accountability with the people involved in the project. But I wanted to jump over to Garry very quickly, and Dr. Eipigh, feel free to jump in as well, because I saw the video, your last video, and I'm gonna share it in a little bit because I think it was so important. But did you have an opportunity to actually, I got the impression that you got an opportunity to take pictures of some of the documents before that too was banned. Is that correct? And kind of just tell us what is in the ESIA.
Yes, yes. I was gonna jump in when I heard Margaux said we hijacked, because I was like, we didn't hijack it. We had all our rights to take those photos. We have a right to view those documents, and we actually had a meeting with the acting chief, Chester Ailey, on the Friday before. So the Friday was the 13th, and we asked him at the meeting, can we take photographs? Because he was giving us these terms that, hey, we can't live with it, we can't scan it and stuff like that. It was like, doesn't make any sense. So we asked him, is there documents in the Kalinago territory as well, or elsewhere in Margaux? Like, is it only in Roseau? And he's like, yes, it's only in Roseau. And so we also pressed him, like, why isn't it in these affected communities? And which he let us know that it was actually a board decision. The option was there to bring it to the communities. However, it was voted against. So
Right.
that's what he told us on Friday. So that's something that, there's a lot of information out there that you can only fit in such a small video. But so when we went there on the Monday, we came prepared with our phones, because the only thing that we have is that we can take photos. So we're not even going to read it. We're just going to take photos. So we know we were allowed an hour and a half. Got in there at 8:30. I think it was about 6-5. It was a few of us, and we just took the photos, made them into PDFs, and then we left. And they have witnesses, because they have one of the secretaries or one of their workers is sat in the room to watch and monitor what you're doing. So we can't say we didn't take photos, because we clearly did. But what I'm saying is that the reason now that so we then went back the next day, Tuesday, because some of the photos were a little blurry and I wanted to retake it. So I did that in the morning, and then later in the afternoon, one of our colleagues went to the area and they told her she can't take any photos. She's not allowed to take any photos at all. No scanning, nothing like that. By that time, we had already made everything into PDFs. We already sent it to a team, and people already starting to read it and basically verify which images they did touch-ups, basically. So we already had our hands on it by Monday, and we fully distributed it on Friday. We didn't want to fully distribute it to the wider Dominica, because we wanted to have a meeting with Chester Ailey again, because every time we try to get a meeting with him, he ends up pushing back the meetings until it's like every time it's a Friday. So we was like, okay, let's meet with him. Based on what we hear from that meeting, the wider general public will get the ESIAs. And we feel like we did them a service, because people are not going to come there and sit in that room just for that small moment to read such a long document and to actually leave comments. So we felt like we gave them a hand, and now we're being punished for it.
Yeah, and let me come to you, Dr. Eipigh, as well, because, I just get the sense that even this ESIA would not have been released if not for the pressure that folks like Garry and Janelle and everyone else on this panel have been placing in the government. And why should that be the case, right? Why should it be the case that if there is transparency with our systems in Dominica, why the need to limit a 1,000 pages to an hour and a half? I mean, I know you've been to a lot of school, Dr. Eipigh. I know you've been for a lot of school, but I cannot imagine that you could read 1,000 pages in an hour and a half. I couldn't do it, despite, the extensive education I've had. And I don't think anybody else on the panel or even in the audience. And guys, keep the Facebook and YouTube comments coming. I will take them in a little bit. But do you feel, if there's transparency, why the need for all of this restriction on something that is public information?
Well, basically, it's to me, it's obvious that there's things in these documents that the authorities would rather that the public isn't aware of. It's just plain and simple. But for me, it's the larger message that comes from that, which is, how do you continue to trust public officials who refuse to do their work properly and provide documentation and information to help citizens like me make decisions on national issues like this? And that has always been, I think, what I can say, it worried me most from the outset, that here were two young professionals in the field doing the necessary work in the age of information and AI, and presenting information that they felt the public needed to know, that had been either disregarded or not embraced by the authorities who are responsible for providing the public with the necessary information. And instead of those authorities now coming forth, when I say authorities, I mean the planning division coming forth with the necessary information to say, this isn't factual, you actually witch hunt these young people who are trying to, what I would say, do what we all should be doing, making Dominica the true nature isle with authenticity and integrity. And instead of providing that information, that you sort of almost attempt to demonize these young people. Yet in the same Dominica, we are complaining about the absence of young people coming forward and getting involved in public issues. So it really irritated me. And maybe because I'd already said the adults in this community are not worth my, I had no more energy to spare with that. So I think that's the larger issue, that here you have the authorities, the planning department not being responsible, and then the other departments that's supposed to have come involved because of the stop order, I mean the police, and that type of thing, not happening. So for me, it was a further betrayal of the trust that we as Dominicans had put in our authorities for protection and our well-being. And this was, to me, just blatant and unacceptable. So that's why I decided to stand and support these young people with everything I had. So for me, it's not even the transparency. It's not just about the transparency. It's about the further deterioration on trust in public officials, and that's so important for the fabric of the society and so important for the future of Dominica. So that's the thing that continues to bother me. And then when you have now that you can almost make it impossible for people to share, to get the information they need to make decisions. What you're telling me is that we're supposed to make decisions based on just what we like and what we don't like, or who we support and who we don't support. And that cannot be in the 21st century. That cannot bode well for the future survival and prosperity of the country.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Eipigh. And Garry, let me ask you this, because the sad reality is many of our folks do not read. We know that as point blank period. So is the intention, and kudos to you for having the presence of mind to grab your camera and start taking pictures. Kudos to you. But would the intention be to kind of summarize what is in the ESIA, what is lacking, any discrepancies, and then present it to the public?
Yes, thank you for that. Yeah, I appreciate summarizing a lot, especially in my in my science field, that my professors are always like, you need to be concise, precise in your presentation of any of your work. So for me, reading this, like this is 1,000 pages, right?
Yeah.
I don't mind reading it at all. I just don't like the time limit that we're given and this restriction that we're given. As to distributing the information that's in the ESIA, yes, we put it out in the public, but we're also reading it, and we do plan to release a video, an explainer, hitting the key points that we found in it, because there's a lot of information in it that it's really not too important to reveal. We want to get the key stuff in it out. And so far, seeing a lot of stuff that's lacking. I guess touch on one of them. We saw that they have incorrect taxonomic names for animals, like names for like scientific names for some animals that were changed like since 2010, 2012. They have it incorrect in the documents, and they have updated the documents, one in June, one in December, one in February. So there's like 3 chances to do that. We're also seeing that they have listed their experts who have worked on in these documents. However, the experts don't have a name, don't have their qualifications next to it. It's just a title saying experts in forestry, experts in this. There's nothing. It's just that is it. So either these experts don't exist, or we just have one expert that is a super expert in all of this.
Wow. Yeah, and hopefully we can do the release. If you want to do a deep dive into the ESIA, we can do a program on that as well. But Alex, let me come to you, because I think what all of this, and Margaux, then I'm going to come back to you so you can fire out some more questions. But the question that comes to mind, and I'm sure it's in the mind of a lot of our members of our audience, is if everything that is being done is above board, right? If everything that is being done correctly, why the need for the secrecy? Why the need for trying to prevent people from accessing the information that they need? And before we even proceed, let me just say a huge congratulations to everyone here, because unfortunately, we know one of our flaws in Dominica is we're too short to flam. Right? We get excited about something, then something else catches our attention, and then before we know it, we've moved on to another topic. But you guys have remained in this fight for a while now, and I anticipate you will be in this fight for a much longer period. So congratulations and kudos to you for keeping the pressure on this issue. But yeah, so Alex, if everything is above board, why the need for secrecy?
Well, first of all, thank you, Simone, I will say thank you for everyone involved, all of the folks that are involved in the background. There are a lot of folks who work, who have been working diligently on this. And I just want to say this to the authorities or anyone who's involved in this project, who may be listening or may hear this in the future. Hear me now. There are people who are committed to go to the end, okay? And that end is the complete removal and cessation indefinitely of all activity in this place in Deux Branches forever and ever. And we are committed to that end, and we will not stop and we will not cease. And so please just know that. And you do with that what you may. But this is the truth. And you can see that in Nasio Fontaine. We've all heard his words, and all of us, we all share those same sentiments. Going back to your question, Simone, well, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. And if you, I mean, just common sense dictates that when a group of individuals, especially, and we can go back in history and we can track other governments who have behaved this way, with this lack of transparency and straightforwardness with their citizenry, whenever they act in this manner, they usually are trying to hide something. They usually are trying to hide malpractice and illegalities. And that's essentially what we see with everything that has occurred here. I will just say that on its face, just the very fact that these ESIs, I mean, honestly, we don't even necessarily need to talk about the whether or not these ESIs were prepared according to international standards. We don't even need to have that discussion. And I will answer that for you right now. And Garry can speak to that as well, because I'm not a scientist, but I have done some research, and I can tell you that no, they're not. They do not conform to the international requirements. But the very fact that they've been prepared and submitted to the Dominican public and to the planning division, the statutory body that oversees this, retroactively. And by that I mean that they were submitted after the work was begun. Okay, they're disqualified. You do not submit ESIAs after the work has begun. You know why? Because you cannot take accurate data. You cannot take samples. You cannot do soil sampling. You can't check species. You cannot do noise. They're going to be blasting. You can't take noise readings. You can't do any hydrological sampling. You can't do you can't do any geological sampling. You cannot perform the science after the project has begun. That's why you must do it before, so that you can establish these baselines and you can create that sort of threshold, so that while the project is being conducted, while the work is being done, assuming you've been approved to do so, your mitigation practices that go along with that, because this is a constant process. You have to constantly be working on mitigating the effects on the environment and the communities around this project while work is being done. So this information and this data that the ESIA provides is very, very critical. This is why it has to be done before. Okay, you cannot come after the fact, okay, and say, okay, we're going to present this, because it means that all of your data, if you did in fact collect data, meaningful scientific data, and analyzed it, it's all basically null and void. So the ESIAs at this point, okay, let's just put this in context. They began work in June of 2025, and they're delivering ESIAs to the Dominican public, okay, in what are we now, March of 2026. Okay, so where are we now? That's like 8-9 months, right? So that does not work. Actually, according to our laws in Dominica, our laws disqualify these ESIAs. They should not even be considered by the board of the planning division. And so this is the question. Again, it comes back down to, are we a nation of laws or aren't we? Right? I mean, really and truly, if our democracy and our government was working properly and working the way it's supposed to work for the Dominican people and for Dominica, the nation, the soil, okay, really what how they should have worked was that the planning division should have essentially shut this down. Okay. And because the proper permission was never granted, and the work that needed to be done prior to be granted permission was not done, and then after there was a stop orders that were put in place, they were violated. Okay, so really and truly, this discussion that we're having right now, guys, shouldn't even be happening if our country was operating according to the Constitution and in a healthy manner.
Yeah. So essentially, we're living up to our reputation of being devant derrière, back to front. As
Absolutely.
the Calypsonian said, we devant derrière. Because, and Margaux, I'm coming to you because it begs the question, what is the point of the ESIA at this point? I mean, if they find anything in the ESIA, is it going to shut down the project? What is going to change? So just throwing that out there. But Margaux, let's come back to you to see if you have any additional points you want to raise.
Yeah, Simone, Dr. Simone. He said the word work, but for me is destruction. Before the destruction began, they should have produced these EIAs and the ESIA. But what's more troubling to me is that in 1996, and even before that, 30 years before that, people came here to mine, because this is a volcanic island. We have nine volcanoes. So we have to have some kind of compressed stone. I'm pretty sure we have diamonds, gold, and the works. But in 1996, our good friend Atherton Martin and Henry Shillingford, which was the Dominica Conservation Association back then, which is what WAVE is actually. It's the baby of the DCA. They stopped an American company from mining for copper there when they explained the damages that would incur if they were to continue their project. And they backed out. They left Dominica, and that was that. Now, 30 years later, we're back to the same nonsense. Everyone knows the copper is in there, but you're telling us it's not the quarry that we're used to in Dominica, that the scraping the walls kind of quarry, with the excavators. This one is to, just like Africa, to make a big hole and then dig deep. We're talking 2,000, 3,000 feet. We're going down to sea level. What are we doing? There's stones down there for real, special stones for your international airport. They're saying it's for the tunnels. And you know why those tunnels are under there now? It's because water and more water is surfacing in the airport. I did that EIA with Cliff. I keep saying it. No one listened to me when I said I was there. I documented 8 ravines. Okay, there's a lot of water in Wesley. It's all underground. So what's happening now? They think they diverted it. It's just moving to somewhere else. That's what water does. It will find its way out. And if they, like I said, if they're going to have to stop the water, they're going to have to mess with Mont Diablotin. And you don't want to do that. They don't call that mountain Mont Diablotin for nothing. So you cannot go and mess with that mountain. They should never have put the runway right there. It should have been placed down there where Eugenia Charles told them, right on that ridge. And they wouldn't be having all these issues. They would have probably finished with the airport already. The airport started at 432 acres. It's like almost double that. It's double that. And it's out of control because now they're kicking people out of their homes. And that's what Annie Edwards is in court tomorrow for. An initiative that WAVE started. But she's in court. She has taken it head on, and she is going to represent, for the people of Wesley, because 21 affidavits say that they have not been paid. They have a lot of their land was taken without their permission, and just like the people of Wesley, a lot of people were not consulted. The Kalinago chief was not consulted, yet they put that in their paperwork. You say they're just making up stuff as they go along. So and none of it makes sense. So I know what an EIA looks Like, I don't have to be a scientist because I've worked on EIAs. I know how it's supposed to, the layout of the EIA. All right. I shot every creature, every plant, every tree, flora and fauna in Wesley for that International Airport EIA. And this one, was it there, Gary? Did you see that in the EIA? Because I just refuse to read all that nonsense, because just from the beginning alone, it just looks so basic and undone. It's like an unfinished cake.
Yeah, and that is why I wanted to come back to you, Gary, because the truth of the matter is you're going to be probably one of the very few people who have laid eyes on this document, because we all know it'll probably get to the point where there's no more access to this particular document. So as someone who has seen what's included in the document, and we already talked about, is it up to international standards? Give us some insights of what you saw, what is lacking, what is done correctly. Just give us some insights on what you saw.
Okay. Well, what we're seeing so far is that it is lacking a lot of data. One of the key things we were looking at when we went into it was like, who are these experts? Because the Prime Minister did say that they have experts who are working on this. So far, the only person we could name is Josiah Benoit, who is the environmental engineer that we have met a couple of times at some community meetings in the village of Concord and Margaux. And he has said, he has also referred to the experts to help construct this ESIA, because he told us he has it. So we're like, we want to see it. And he did not give it to us. And now here we are months later, and now we finally get a chance to see it, and we only have 2 weeks. So because we took photographs of it, I don't think I'm one of the last people to see it.
That's a good point.
As we know right now, it's only the few of us who went there the first day and took the photos that are banned from coming in. That was the direct message from the Permanent Secretary of Housing.
And why were you banned? Why were you banned from going in? I don't understand why you were banned. Were you being disruptive? Were you being aggressive? Were you being disrespectful? I mean, the public wants to know, because now I'm concerned I might get banned if I walk into a particular office. I mean, Alex, Margaux, are you concerned?
Yeah,
we banned arbitrarily?
I've been banned.
We were banned.
Well, you know, if someone like Mr. Benoit said, no videos at his meetings, right? But I did take the video of him saying that. So just having that, you know, was a problem. But you know, and I did take some more, but without pointing my phone at him. You know, I took his audio and was pointing the phone somewhere else. But it's like, what are you hiding? It's a public meeting. So if you're saying the right things that supportive of your project, then you would have no problems in me sharing what you just said. So what's the problem? I mean, and this is the same thing with these EIAs. You know, you're talking about all over Dominica. It's not just Des Bois, you know, and Des Bois has plenty of water. Water is coming out of the mountains, sweet, beautiful water. And this is what there's just no conscience when it comes to water in Dominica. You know, the rest of the world is dying for water, but we have, so we don't care. Just mess that river up, mess that one. We have more, but we don't have more, because all our rivers are drying up. They are drying up, and a lot of people are dumping stuff in them. All right, so I don't know where you can bathe anymore. Go up the coast, go up the West Coast, and tell me where you're gonna bathe when you come home, Doc. Where are you gonna bathe, man?
Forget about it.
Nowhere.
I was just sharing with my mom. We were so fortunate growing up in Bath Estate that we had that deep river right there in our backyard, and that's where we spent our entire summer. And the social impact is real, because when you have children who no longer have access to going to bathe in the river, and then we wonder why our children are stuck on their tablets and their devices all day long, because there's nothing to do outside. There are no rivers to go bathe in. There's not a tree to go sit under, because we're cutting down all the trees. But Gary, I really want you to answer that question. Why were you banned?
Yes, we were banned essentially. It was myself, Jerry, and Annie Edwards. We went there the morning, and we were also there the Monday when we took the photos. And when we went in there, the secretary then went to call the acting director, Chester Eipigh, and he personally came to talk to us and was like, hey, we've given direct instructions to not allow you guys inside this room anymore because of what happened, because you guys made deep ESIA public all on the internet. You were not allowed to do that. I was like, we're not allowed to do that. And he said, we're no longer allowed to take photos, which we then told him like, hey, but you told us on Friday we could take photos. Why are you allowing people not to take photos anymore? And so that's why we're not allowed inside anymore. And when we keep asking him more questions, like, so why is this happening? Because these are clearly public documents. He said to refer back to his boss, who's the permanent secretary, Reginald or Regin Savran, of the PS of Housing. We haven't been able to meet him, but that's what's going on. Like, it's when we talk to the workers at Planning Division, they say refer to Chester Eipigh. Now we talk to Eipigh. Now Eipigh say no, refer to my boss, refer to the PS. And it's like we're just climbing up the ladder. It's like they don't want to answer these questions. What I do want to say that what we found so far in the ESIA, in one of them, there's like about 3 different projects in it. So although it's Stonefield, you see parts of Ansdemere, you see parts of a cement plant in it. So it just seems like they started writing it and then they realized they didn't have enough. So they just took a few chapters in one and added to it and just placed it in there. So we've also seen a section where they basically conducted the biodiversity for Stonefield. However, it's on the Stonefield section, but it's also referring to Wesley. So yes, it would have been a biodiversity report done in Wesley, I assume for the airport, but it's on the Stonefield. But it's a completely different environment. You're talking about species and plants that are more coastal compared to one that's more interior in the rainforest. And so just seeing those, that are just a few things that we're seeing, and we believe they don't want more people to see or have the time to actually analyze those ESIAs to come to those conclusions. And I feel like that's why they're upset. Now that we have a digital copy, we can look at it as long as we like and leave as much technical comments as we want to. Yeah,
because you're not. Yeah, I'm coming to you, Alex. Go ahead, Gary.
Oh, I was also going to say that we've also heard rumors, could be true, could be not true, we'll see. But we heard that the ESIA for the airport could be released soon. And if that's the case, then no one can take photos of the ESIA for the airport, something that has been asked for so long. And I can be very frank. I was in my studies for a while, so I graduated in October that passed. So while this was going on, I had to fly back for graduation. And so like I'm fresh out of school and this is going on. So like I've seen what's going on at the airport, but now I'm seeing what's going on in Deboash, and then our investigation in Deboash realized they have no authorization to do this. Nothing has been approved. We've also learned that even in Cropper Hall, the quarry has not been approved. Only the crusher has been approved. Ansime has not been approved either. All these things are now opening up just because we started looking at Deboash. And I feel like what we started, just Janelle and I were doing the investigation, just walking the river and trying to find out more things, like trying to get answers, and then doing that social media campaign, because we at Save Deboash, we strongly believe in our three-prong approach, which is like science, outreach, and legal. So I fall within that Venn diagram between the outreach and the science, where Janelle would fall more in between the science and the legal. And then we have people like our geologists who's purely science. And so all these people are coming together, and through the outlet of the video to let the public know, we feel like we have gotten certain victories, such as the stop order, because from what we understand from talking to the former chief planner, Ms. Durival, and Chester Eipigh, is that there was a decision to take action for a stop order. However, they did not meet quorum because it's a board decision. However, when public pressure started going on, there's a change in decision. And so the stop order happened in December 1st, but if it happened December 1st, why not just release the documents? Let the people know. Why are we getting to do this all the way in March? Why does Nasir Fountain and Mr. David have to try to stand in front of a vehicle and tell the police there's a stop order on? All this shouldn't be happening. And we just want transparency from our authorities.
Yeah, and I'm coming to you, Alex, but again, going back to the point that this is not about being anti-government, anti-development, but it's about transparency and the need for protocol. And the reason you guys were actually banned from the planning division, Garry, I hate to tell you, is because, it goes back to the fact that the government knows that most Dominicans do not read, and you guys were reading too much information. You were getting too much of the information that is actually in the ESIA, and you were prepared to challenge it. So that is the reason they decided, no, you guys are just troublemakers. And one of the points I want to make very quickly is I was very impressed when I saw that you all brought on international experts on this topic, on this investigation, because for far too long, we've just been hearing, well, Margaux and Eipigh and them, they're just troublemakers. They're always looking for trouble, right? So it was great to see when the new voices, you and Janelle, came into play, and when you brought the international experts to back up what you were saying. So congratulations on that. So Alex, let me come over to you. Wanted to raise some points?
Yes, I did. So, I think that, well, first of all, I just want to remind everyone, if we've all sort of like forgotten this, it seems like as though the developers of this project have forgotten, but we live in the year 2026. And so what does that mean? We live in a time where there are many, many resources, particularly, and I'm going to say it now, guys, AI. Okay. And this technology is a game changer, and it is the great equalizer. Okay. And I think what happened was that, and the reason why Garry and Mr. Brisbane and Miss Edwards were banned is because I think someone realized after the fact that, oh no, this has been digitized, and now it can be actually analyzed, and so we are smart people. Obviously, the people who are involved in this, we are dealing with this very intelligently. So the first thing we did was we ran it through AI, and AI is very good at data analysis. This is one of the things that makes it such a useful tool, and why it's essentially revolutionizing the world. And so you can take these documents through and run it through. And actually, what we did was we did a cross-reference analysis. So we ran the ESIAs through ChatGPT, and we also ran it through Claude. And so that we have they can sort of like check that analysis against each other and make sure that everything is actually like solid, and the analysis is feedback is good to go. And so we were able to do a gap analysis on these documents, right? And a gap analysis is essentially that it basically pinpoints where there's gaps in a document per the recognized standard for that document. And one of the key things that came back is that, first of all, the developer is the one who is essentially producing its own ESIA. If you look at the document, and actually you don't need AI for this, you just need to be able to read right on the front of the ESIAs. It says Montreal Management Consultants Development, right? And they are the developer for the project. Well, guess what? They're not allowed to provide their own ESIA or produce their own ESIAs. But here they are submitting this, and that's not allowed. That's a conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest, absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
Absolutely.
Another key factor that AI came back with was that the Kalinago indigenous community was never consulted. We spoke about this, okay? And per international law, okay, and laws that Dominica and the government of Dominica are signatories to, okay, projects of this kind that affect indigenous communities need to have, first of all, those communities need to be consulted. There needs to be participation from these communities, and these communities need to give consent. This is a very key word. They have to give consent that this is allowed. And Chief Sanford laid that out publicly this past Saturday when she said that, she never gave her permission. Well, first of all, they were not consulted, and she never gave her permission for this destruction, as Margaux put it, to go forward in Deux Branches. And also we come back to the issue of Garry brought this up, data. Again, these documents rely very heavily upon data. Okay, and this process is very it's structured, and it's laid out in a way, and it's supposed to be laid out in a way that follows, like Margaux said, a very specific format. Okay, and so data, the lack of data, okay, essentially undermines the document. Okay, the required surveys, the water sampling, the soil sampling, species counts, even regulatory body engagements, laboratory reports, hydrological measurements, like I said, samples of air quality, because guess what? They're not only is the plan supposed to be for them to be actually quarrying or mining for stones, but there's a crushing plant on site. Okay, do you know what happens when you crush stones? That releases particulate into the air, right? And that air then wafts through communities. We need to take samples of that. There's going to be blasting. We need to take samples of the current ambient sound, and what's that going to be like when there's blasting. All of these things need to be assessed, and the AI came back to us and essentially said that, hey, all of the data that usually is required is missing. It's not there. And Garry, who's and his team, who are actually reading through the ESIAs, are basically, they're having the same, they're coming to the same findings. I just want to also say that, this is such it's such a slap in the face, as a Dominican. I consider this entire thing to be a slap in my face. Mm-hmm. Right? It is disrespectful. Okay, to they're basically, just completely insulting our intelligence. Okay, and so we're not going to accept this. Mm-hmm. Right? We are going to obviously do the work, do what we have to do to essentially demonstrate to the Dominican public at large, okay, if you're not going to read, we'll read for you. If you're not going to do the analysis, we'll do the analysis for you. We're ready to do that, because guess what? All that matters is Dominica and saving Dominica, preserving it in the way that it is right now. Okay. And development, yes, but there will be development with preservation. Mm-hmm. Okay,
and protocol.
Yes, and so we are the ones. If you want, we can call us the guardians. Call us whatever. But we're doing the work. All right, we're doing the legwork in the background to make sure that everybody is informed, so that no one can say that they didn't know. Mm-hmm. No one can say that no one raised these points or whatever the case may be, right? We, Garry, Janelle, their team, we've all been very transparent. This right here is a exercise in transparency. We are talking this out publicly. We're bringing our findings out publicly. We're letting everyone know, okay, what we found, what is there, what's in there, and you know, basically we ask everyone to make a decision about this situation based upon the facts as we're doing.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. And we have to start winding down in a little bit. But I think, you know, this is a case of be careful what you ask for. You just might get it. Because for far too long, we've been asking for youth engagement. But when the youth come and they bring their AI tools and say, well, you know, pretty much what you're saying is BS, then we get upset because we wanted the youth to become engaged, but we wanted to do it on our terms. So it's a case of be careful what you ask for, you just might get it. And also the importance of setting precedents. I think that is the bigger topic that we're looking at right now, because now that you and everyone else, Garry, Janelle, Dr. Eipigh, Margaux, Wave, everyone else have been brave enough to challenge the government, now hopefully that is setting the precedence where we will no longer see that Duvalier operation where we're doing things back to front. We're starting an international airport, then we're doing the ESIA, we're starting mining, and then we're doing the ESIA. So hopefully it is a lesson learned for the government that now we have a group of people who will challenge you, and who will stand up and say, hold up, wait a minute. You know, this does not seem right, and we need to go back to the drawing table and do the right things, do things in protocol. But we have to take some of the comments. So before we wind down, we also want to talk about this Nature Island brand, because, you know, I don't know the area that is Deux Branches, but from what my mom is telling me, it is actually an area that is on the way to the airport. Is that correct? So it's on a main road? Right. So I'm going to come around the room. So we can start sharing some final thoughts. So kind of make a note of what you would like to say in wrapping up. But let us also keep in mind that Nature Island brand, which we are so proud to proclaim when we tell everyone, oh, I'm from Dominica, the nature island of the world. We don't even say the Caribbean no more. We say the nature island of the world, the Garden of Eden. So how does that reconcile with that Nature Island brand, which, as far as I'm concerned, all our industries should be under that umbrella of sustainable development under that Nature Island brand? So when I come back, I want us to share on that, as well as any parting thoughts you have. But we must acknowledge our Facebook and YouTube audience, because they've been wonderful. They've been here for the entire time. And so we want to make sure we take some of their comments before they leave. So Amy, nice to have you on board. Hopefully you will join us on the screen next time, because I know you're very active. She says, our hero Nasio, peace and love to him, and Empress Helen. She also says, also the Kalinago people must be consulted before anything that impacts their major watershed. Tanya Smith, nice to have you on board. David Joseph, thank you for being here. Greetings and good evening to each and everyone. Giving thanks for all who are standing for Dominica in spite of all the negative and derogatory remarks being thrown your way. Well, you know, we are all descendants of Kalinago and Negmawa, right? I mean, I wear it proudly. Yeah. I hope you do. So I think that is where our indomitable spirit comes from. Net Packet says, interesting. David continues, for much too long, we have allowed this government to approach on our rights and the Constitution of Dominica. We have sat idly by and watched as our country has been taken down the abyss with our eyes wide shut. Very good, David. Yannick, how we don't have a PDF, or okay, Yannick, you might want to rephrase that. I'm not sure what you're saying. So we're going to make sure we take a comment from at least everyone who joined us. Lester, great to have you on board. We have Roots Connections tomorrow and you'll be on. Thank you for tackling this matter head on. Tanya, Dominican, stop worshiping God. They're into spirit worship now. Everything that man do, they're glorifying. Arian Perryman, we are so proud of the bandwidth of Garry Auguiste and Janelle Brisbane. Dominican needs young advocates since most young people have been pushed out or left. And the importance of the generations working together, we cannot underestimate that as well, right? So the importance of the generations working together. Miss Elix, use Grok. Grok breaks information down flawlessly, far better than ChatGPT. So a recommendation on an AI tool to use, it's called Grok. Grok is the word. And then Arian says, I'm trying to understand why we constantly need to preface with not political, good question, not against the government, and blah, blah. Does the government ever begin with, we are not against the people, but we choose to ignore? Can we simply be pro or anti whatever projects based on the overall benefit of the nation? Great question, Arian. Michael John, great program. So guys, yes, thank you for all your comments and on all your feedback. And yes, we have to say it's not it is not political and it's not anti-development, because we know that that's where the attacks come from when folks attack the conversation. But that doesn't impact us. We will keep going. So guys, let's circle around the room, get your final thoughts, and just kind of tie to that whole Nature Island brand that we are so proud to proclaim. So let's go over to you, Margaux. And again, thank you again for reaching out and, coordinating this program to bring it to our audience this evening. So let me come over to you, Margaux.
Well, thank you, Simone, for having us on tonight. We're talking about Nature Isle. You know, when I came home, I came home with such high hopes of the Renaissance and doing, projects here, with the rest of my working years, and now all I just see myself fighting against this and fighting against that. And people say, everything is political, or this is, and it is. We have to call it what it is, because it is our leadership that's allowing a lot of this stuff to happen, all of it. Okay, and the people are to blame as well, because they are just style. Well, so it is that we have. You know what we have? We have a beautiful country. We have a lot of water, a lot of delicious, healthy water, air. 100% oxygen when you go up to Des Bois. You want to know where Des Bois is, Simone? It's in the forest, in the middle. The road is running through a forest. That is where it is. And this is where you see on the road, you see that big bobo there? That's can you imagine what's up there? They have destroyed a lot of trees up there. Go to Haiti, and Haiti will tell you. Ask Africa how their copper mining is going. We cannot, Dominica is too small for this. We cannot be digging and drilling and messing this place up and inviting people. Oh, come check us out. Oh, beautiful Dominica. Come and swim. And come on. Really? The minute you leave the airport, that you're seeing? Come on. We've got to stop, disrespecting what we have. We have gold. That's our gold. Water. We want to sell everything else. Sell all our stones. Sell everything. You know what? We have water. Everybody wants it. And we have it pure, sweet, and healthy with minerals. So let's stop the mining. Leave Dominica alone. They said that in the early 1900s, do nothing. That's what them people came here and said, do nothing. And that's what we need to start doing. It's nothing. We can develop in other ways. That plays well with nature. With that whole nature brand that we're selling, that we got to stop it. We got to stop it. That's all I have to say. Stop the mining.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Margaux. Dr. Eipigh, your final thoughts?
All right. Well, thanks for having me. And I did appreciate being part of the discussion, although I prefer to listen. What I'd like to say is that basically, it's pure and simple. To my mind, what's happening at Daywash is not consistent with the Nature Island brand that we in the Nature Isle boast of and propose. There's no, to my mind, I don't think any Dominican who actually physically goes to the site at Daywash would disagree with me. And I would say furthermore, it's a bit, I'm not sure what's the right word, but maybe unjust and unfair and disrespectful on behalf of the planning board. And I hope they will consider that aspect of the Nature Island brand in their future deliberations, because they have an awesome responsibility to set the standard for making decisions on national issues that in 2026 that should be based on the science available and the data, the factual data available. So based on the factual data available and the science available, we shouldn't be even having this discussion. By now, the planning board, if they were transparent, they should just have quelled this and find some other solution to finding the necessary aggregate, as they say, for the project in Melvin Hall. I think they should just simply do the right thing and just put a stop to this, what's happening at Daywash, and let us move on. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that. And I'm going to pin Gary's video to the comment section so everyone can see the video, his most recent video. Let's come over to you, Alex, and then we will end with you, Gary. So your final thoughts, Alex.
Yes, Simone. So I just want to say thank you to you for providing this platform and allowing for us to have this discussion as we responsibly are entitled to do so. Those of us who consider ourselves to be, again, lovers of Dominica. I think that all of us Dominicans, wherever we may be on this earth, we love our country. Mm-hmm. We are some of the most prideful people on the planet. You know, I can tell you right now, I have been to many fetes, and oftentimes you find that Dominicans will have their flags out more than anybody else. Mm-hmm. So now, in this time that we find ourselves in, we need to now pull that flag out, and we need to represent for our country, for Waitukubli, and we need to. It's time to put up or shut up. Okay, I think that we all need to pay very close attention to what's going to happen in the next week or so. I believe that all comments for the ESIAs are supposed to be submitted by the 30th of March, and then the 27th of March, and then there'll be the end of the month, and I'm assuming there'll be a decision about how this is going to move forward after that. So, talking about precedents, let's all wait and see if there will be a new precedent set in Dominica in the future of Dominica and the governing of our country, and let's see how that's going to affect things moving forward. I will just say that if the outcome of this is that CR5 and MMCE are allowed to go forward with what's happening in Daywash, I'm just going to say my opinion is that it's going to spell the absolute and utter destruction and proven corruption of our government in Dominica. So let me just say that. As far as the branding and how we are viewed internationally, I can tell you, I'll be very honest, selfishly, I don't see it that way. Mm-hmm. I look at what's happening in Daywash. It's very personal for me. Mm-hmm. I see it, in terms of how is this going to affect, I think about it in terms of Dominicans. I'm always thinking about these issues in terms of our people. I don't really care about the foreigners. I'm concerned about our people. And I want that river to stay as pristine as it has remained for thousands of years through my lifetime, onto my children and their children's children, and so on and so forth. I told my 2 little girls the other day that Daddy is fighting for that river that I took you to last year when we swam, and my daughter, I told her, the pool where you jumped off of the big rock. And she looked at me and she said, "Oh wow, yes, Dad, you need to protect that." And it broke my heart. It brought me to tears a few months ago, when before the stop order and all of this happened, when I saw there was runoff and all of that that mud and silt entering the river, and it made that and the bacteria blooms caused the basset to basically become very murky, all that growth and whatnot on the rocks. And it broke my heart, because just a few months before that, I was there with my daughters and they were enjoying this beautiful crystal clear pool that Dominicans enjoy and the tourists enjoy. Okay, so we're fighting to protect that. I'm fighting to protect that legacy. And before I close, I just want to really quickly say, I just want to read a quote from John Lewis, who was a famous civil rights leader here in the United States, and one of the few brave people who decided that he was going to stand up and speak out about injustice in his government. And he said that, "I urge people to," quote, "get in good trouble, necessary trouble, and help redeem the soul of Dominica." Okay, he said America, but I'm going to replace that with Dominica. All right, and there is such a thing, and we saw how that worked out for the civil rights movement. And here we are now, all of us here, Garry, Margaux, myself, Janelle, Nasio, Mr. Brisbane, everyone that's working behind the scenes. We are, yes, we're troublemakers. We're good troublemakers. And history will reflect that we will be written in history as the people who were on the good side of history, just like Mr. Afi Mate back in the late 90s, who fought to protect this very same place we're fighting to protect 30 years ago. We are fighting now for the same place. And then I hope and pray that 30 years from now, the next generation, my kids, will be fighting for Deux Branches. So
absolutely,
to say, stop the mining in Deux Branches. Stop now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. So let me go over to Garry, the man who's recognized as the person who started all this trouble with that first video. So Garry, your parting thoughts, and what's next? What's next? What's the goal, Garry? Where do we go from here? So kind of just give us some insight on what is the progress going to be like from now on.
Yeah, thank you. A lot of people have told me I have ignited this whole situation. Like, it's filled with gas already, and I was the match that set it ablaze and shed light into everything that's going on. But what I want to say, I was making some notes. What Dr. Pascal was saying about aggregate. Like, one of the things that we saw so far in the ESIA is that, or what we didn't see, is we haven't found any aggregate quality testing data in there. And so we've heard people talk about density. People talk about this is the best quality rock for the runway. This is the strength. We need to be in Deux Branches to get this rock. And in the ESIA, so far we haven't found any information that could prove that. We've also heard Mr. Sam Johnson talking on the radio, I think it was last week, and he talked about, he referred to our geologist report that we sent in and said that what he basically did was the starting, the baseline scientific report that you need to do, but there's also another geology report that you need to basically test the rocks And that's what our geologists refer to, that we need to further test it to prove that it's best for the runway. But so far, his baseline assessment is like, it's not good. The quality is not good. It's not gonna yield anything good for the airport. And Mr. Johnson has said that he has seen it. They've done the testing. And so I feel right now we have gotten so far the stop orders, the ESIA application documents, but we have not seen that document to prove that this is the best quality rock from Deux Branches. And we haven't seen that yet. And we've had Sam Johnson confirm that it exists. So I am banned from flying division right now, but maybe sometime we will get that. And right now I feel like we need a lot more pressure to get those documents. And what we're saying is that we're so transparent that when the geology report came out, we shared it. We shared it with people. We shared it with our peers. We also shared it to all the media houses, all the newspapers, even News, Q95, all of them. And so all of them have access to this, to share that information, because we could only do so much. And we're asking all the other media houses to do the same when stuff come out and not be one-sided in the discussion. I also wanted to touch on, before we go, I think, I don't remember who was talking about it. Might have been Margaux talking about people think that we're anti-government. It is something that is going around the island. Like, anybody who seems to support what we're doing are saying that we're anti-government. Even other groups that have came to aid us in our investigation, in our campaign, have been labeled as being anti-government, and they're just basically facilitating something for us to spread the word more, but they have been labeled as that. And it's like, no, it's free speech. We all, and everybody deserves information. Everybody deserves to be educated on the information, something that's so important and so impactful to the community. And I really feel like the youth of today, we are the leaders right now. To stand up for what's right for Dominica and what's right for the environment and what's right for our future. Because we all know climate change is real. Some of us don't believe it, but our rivers are shrinking. It's nothing that's false. Our rivers are shrinking, and Dominica is listed. The Eipigh River is listed one of the main rivers in Dominica, and we want to hit that resource. I don't see it being anything positive at this point. Even if the rocks are the densest and are the best quality for them, I don't think just being in that location is good for anything.
Yeah, and congratulations to every one of you, because again, bridging that gap between the generations and serving as role models for our young people to speak up about your concerns. Dominica is your future. Dominica belongs to you. We're simply in keeping it for you until it's passed on to you as the next generation. So the importance of showing what happens when young people speak up. But I want to thank everyone for being here. Dr. Eipigh, Margaux, Alex, Garry, thank you so much for the updates. I hope that you will continue to join us even after you've dissected the ESIA and you are ready to present what you found. Garry, you wanted to chime in?
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing. Last week, Saturday, we were at Deux Branches. We had a gathering. We had about 70 to 90 people. I was losing count, but we had a good gathering of people. I believe this Saturday we want to do it again.
Oh, good. If you have a flyer or anything, let me know. I'll share it for you.
Yeah. I'll work on getting one to you tomorrow.
Okay.
Or even later tonight.
Yes.
But we do want to do another one again this Saturday at Deux Branches. And we pride ourselves on being peaceful in the whole process. So if you come, I'll listen to people speak, and maybe by then we'd have more information from the ESIAs and we could reveal that they're on the spot. If you have questions, we could entertain them, we could talk to people and help others understand, because even last week, Saturday, people came there, people carpooled to get there, and it was because they were curious. Although we had a lot of supporters who were like, yes, we're against it. Some people was like, I'm not sure if I'm against it, really. Like, could you tell me some more information? I was like, I'm right here.
And that is your role, to educate and inform, So that is a very important role. But I'm certainly on board, and you know, the importance of recognizing the importance of the media. So Margaux, congratulations on that, for always recognizing the importance of getting this information out to the media, whether it's the radio or the internet or Facebook, YouTube. Hey, Miss Badwell, nice to see you. I'll see you tomorrow night on Roots Connections. Amy says, thank you, Dr. Simone. Yes, indeed. It was a pleasure having you guys here. And again, it is about sustainable development done with transparency and protocol, so we can preserve that Nature Island brand, which should be the brand for the economic sustainable development of Dominica. So again, I commend each and every one of you for the work that you do, and always tap into that spirit of our ancestors, because you know what? They survived far worse than what we're doing. Can you imagine trying to live your life and having bullets being, thrown at you from the invaders of our islands, as Kalinago people? And I'm guessing every one of us have Kalinago descendants. And if you're Dominican, chances are you're of Kalinago descent, African as well. And you know, it was so interesting because I found this wonderful quote while I was getting ready to do this program. And it says, real progress values ecosystem, biodiversity, and balance over profit-driven destruction of the land and natural resources. I mean, I opened Facebook, and can you believe that is the first thing that popped up on my screen from a page I don't even follow. So I think this is a very timely conversation. Hector, thank you for being here. And I hope we can continue this conversation. So I want to thank you for taking time out. Today is March 23rd, 2026. Tomorrow, the 25th, we'll be having Roots Connections on Q95 FM. And again, we'll be talking about financial security, because we all have our concerns for Dominica. So guys, thank you for being here. Until next time, I am Dr. Simone Matthew, and it is great to have this platform. We're over 20,000 followers at this point. So it is great to have this platform to be able to share all our concerns and everything else related to our beautiful island, Dominica. So with that, good evening. I look forward to keeping in touch with you guys, and we will see where it goes from there. All right. So have a good night.
Thanks, awesome.
Thank
and
you.
big up our secretary, Amy LaRonde. Amy, we love you. Thanks so much for everything that you do for WAVE and for the cause, babes. All right.
Yes, let's keep the good fight going. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
All right. Good night.
Mm-hmm.